Julius Malema's political playbook once electrified Black South Africa. His firebrand rhetoric striking like lightning in the hearts of millions. Even those who didn't vote for him absolutely loved him, for the most part. He rose to prominence as the first man in post-apartheid history to mount a serious challenge to the ANC from within its own voter base, Black South Africans. And yet, this very confrontational, violent brand of politics, which once gave rise to the political phenomenon that is the EFF and made it so loved by black voters, is now suddenly causing its downfall from the inside, with Malema's political and legal woes worsening by the day and his former friends turning their backs on him one by one. Julius Malema's political ascent wasn't accidental. It was built through effective grassroots organization and high-profile confrontation. From Limpopo youth structures to the national stage, he rose as the leader of the ANC Youth League in 2008, turning that organization into his own platform for the most radical economic proposals and hard-edged rhetoric that the ANC had seen since Nelson Mandela. That momentum carried him through a prolonged conflict with the ANC struggle veterans, most notably Jacob Zuma, which led to his 2012 expulsion from the party. Yet being expelled from the ANC didn't end Malema's role in national politics. In fact, it only made him stronger. He pivoted, founded the EFF in 2013 and translated protest politics into parliamentary representation. Indeed, he became not only one of the most powerful men in the country, but quite possibly the most influential, despite being the leader of only the third biggest political party. You see, since 2013, EFF rhetoric has almost universally translated into ANC action. Bills like expropriation without compensation were proposed by the ANC and much later passed and promulgated because the ANC had to show their voters they are just as radical as the EFF, for fear of more voters bleeding out towards the EFF. The EFF's uncompromising message kept Malema at the center of national debate for well over a decade. Yet, as new political currents formed over the past years, Malema's familiar playbook, like mass rallies, provocative messaging, and institutional disruption, began to yield diminishing returns. A movement that once rose in defiance now faces pressure from rivals as well as escalating internal rifts. Add to this his new legal woes, and Julius Malema, once a rising star in the ANC, is now on the verge of seeing his entire political career destroyed. Stay with me, because in today's video we are going to highlight the rise and the dramatic fall of the most controversial figure in South African political history, Julius Malema. In the early 2000s, Julius Malema rose through the ranks of the ANC as its new rising political star. From his early involvement in youth activism, even back when he was still in school, he steadily climbed the ranks of the African National Congress, first at the provincial level in Limpopo and eventually on to national prominence through the ANC Youth League, or ANCYL. In April 2008, at the age of 27, Malema was elected president of the ANC Youth League in a heated conference in Bloemfontein, defeating another candidate, Saki Mafokeng, with Malema scoring 53% of the vote that day compared to Mafokeng's 47%. And many in the ANC saw him as a new hope, destined to revitalize the party, bring it back to its ideological roots, and get the black youth involved in politics again. From the onset, his leadership style was combative and bold, and he was unafraid to take on senior ANC leaders. As Youth League president, he embraced radical slogans, even back when advocating for expropriation of land without compensation and nationalization of the mines. In a 2011 speech at the ANC Youth League's National Conference, he specifically highlighted these two issues as the ones he considered to be the top priorities for the ANC. At the time, Malema's popularity among the youth and his ability to mobilize the league's grassroots base grew to such heights that many senior ANC figures actually started viewing him as a real threat to them. He was perceived as growing too big for the ANC, a figure whose influence among younger cadres and radical-minded constituencies undermined the authority of established party elders. His outspoken rhetoric, defiance of discipline, and public criticisms of the ANC's leadership, most notably Jacob Zuma and the party's economic direction, escalated internal tensions within the ANC. By the end of 2011, Malema was charged internally for bringing the ANC into disrepute, suspended, and ultimately expelled in February 2012. But rather than fading away, this made Malema somewhat of a martyr among the black electorate. In fact, later that year, a court case involving AfriForum and the TAUSA concerning Malema's hate speech and genocidal rhetoric against white South Africans ended in a settlement, which at the time was seen as a massive win for Malema among his black target audience, torpedoing him onto the front stage of South African politics and the media. At the time, AfriForum also propagated this settlement as a win for them, but as the legal scholars Buitendag and Van Merle would highlight in a scholarly article published in 2014, this was obviously at odds with the original intentions of the complainants in the case, such as the Transvaal Agricultural Union, and the settlement can in no way be construed as a win for white South Africans marginalized by Malema's rhetoric. Indeed, all of this actually served as the political springboard for Malema, and in 2013, with all of this media coverage and the big fight with the ANC behind his back, he would make the biggest move of his political career. He founded his own political party, the Economic Freedom Fighters. He was immediately joined by other prominent ANC youth figures such as Floyd Shivambu. The EFF positioned itself as the uncompromising far-left alternative. Its platform built around land expropriation, nationalization, and a strong anti-ANC, anti-establishment rhetoric where the ANC is accused of not keeping the promises and not keeping up with the ideology that the ANC had since before taking power. In the first election it contested, the EFF under Malema's leadership became the first party in South Africa's history to be able to steal away a significant portion of the ANC support. In the 2014 elections, the EFF gained just over 6% of the vote, and within just 5 years in 2019, its support rose to more than 11%, with the ANC dropping below 60% for the first time ever since competing in elections. Since then, the EFF seemed to be only growing stronger and stronger and stronger until the downfall happened. The EFF was now one of the big three parties in this country, competing with the DA and the ANC and scoring an astonishing 44 seats in the National Assembly. And throughout all of this, Malema not only continued to openly advocate what can only be described as a pan-Afro-Marxist political agenda, he also continued unashamedly calling for genocide.
Good to kill the mother, kill the poor, the farmer, kill the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa, pa, brr, pa, pa. Attention.
In the most recent national election in 2024, things changed drastically for Malema, as the MK party was formed by Jacob Zuma supporters in the months running up to this election. Malema was surprisingly quiet. Now it was the first time ever that the EFF was suddenly not the only alternative to disgruntled ANC voters, and in 2024, the EFF support declined, a little bit, but it declined. and Malema suddenly lost a lot of his political momentum, only growing stronger and stronger until the MK party was formed and the EFF was dropped off a cliff. The EFF support dropped to just under 9.5%, with the MK party, a party that was only a few months old at the time, gathering an astonishing 14% of the national vote, significantly more than the EFF achieved even at its height. In fact, the MKP competed even more on the EFF's radical playground than they did against the ANC. After the election, it became clearer that former ANC voters dissatisfied with the party would increasingly be more inclined to support the MKP than it would be to support the EFF, and even EFF voters were defecting towards the MKP. Suddenly, the EFF was in a crisis. Cracks started to show and internal divisions started to surface. The first monumental blow to Malema's EFF came when the very man who had stood by Malema's side from the very beginning and the party's long-time vice president, Floyd Shivambu, decided to leave for the MK shortly after the election. Shortly thereafter, the party's former national chairperson and a heavyweight legal and political figure, Dali Mpofu, also announced that he was leaving the EFF for the MK. And to make matters worse, in early 2025, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, once a central voice and long-time spokesperson for the EFF, formally resigned his membership, citing strained relations with the party leadership, specifically Malema himself. Malema had a lot of friends until he didn't. And when Malema seemed to not have the power and the momentum and the popularity that he once had, all of these friends sort of just started falling off of Malema. Over the past year, Malema has become increasingly isolated and quiet. We don't really read much about him because he doesn't really do much, appearing deflated as he suffered setback after setback. And now, to top it all off, he is also facing legal woes on top of his political ones. Malema's legal troubles over the past month underscore that his prior aura of absolute invincibility is coming down, and his political empire is falling apart. Two rulings in rapid succession. First on Dante van Wyk, finally succeeding in getting him convicted of hate speech, and then yesterday's firearms verdict. These are not just courtroom losses, they ripple outward with serious political and legal consequences for Malema. In the first case, the Western Cape Equality Court handed Julius Malema a serious verdict in the case brought by Millie Wesley, representing Dante van Wyk. The court ruled that remarks made by Malema in 2022 during a gathering tied to an earlier Brackenfell High School incident constituted an exhortation to kill white males and to respond violently. And yesterday, Malema suffered another devastating blow. The East London Magistrates Court found him guilty on multiple firearms and ammunition charges stemming from a 2018 rally at Dantsane, where footage showed him firing a rifle into a crowd of people. Malema has now been convicted on 5 counts, including unlawful discharge of a firearm in a built-up area, unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition, reckless endangerment, and failing to take reasonable precautions to avoid danger. This matter has been postponed to January 2026 for pre-sentencing and sentencing hearings, but these are serious offences carrying a punishment of up to 15 years imprisonment. We did a whole analysis on the legal implications of this case for Malema, which you can view by just clicking right here somewhere on the screen. There will be a link where you can watch our full analysis. The latest ruling has the potential to actually end up bringing Malema's already sinking political career to an end, as he now faces costs exposure, a criminal record and ever-shrinking room for political maneuver because his competition is too much in the radical far-left voter base among black South African voters. Here at the Willem Petscher Group, we don't hesitate to expose the atrocities committed by Afro-Marxist criminals masquerading as freedom fighters. That's why in a recent video we also pointed out Cyril Ramaphosa's connections to Islamist dictatorships, which you can check out by clicking on this video appearing on your screen right now, right here. And supports our work by becoming a member of the Willem Petscher Group. With your support, we can change the hearts and minds of people. Simply follow the steps on the banner on your screen underneath me. Goodbye and God bless.